Welcome to Player Props with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you player prop tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and in this episode of Major League Baseball Props, I will discuss 4 picks that I think make for good bets on games scheduled to play tonight, Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. Remember that if you are interested in full game projections and picks for every MLB game, sign up on Dub Club. That link's in the show description. Cost is under $1 per day, and you'll receive moneyline picks, run line prices, totals, numbers needed for A-grade plays, all sorts of goodies, and exclusive access to our Discord chat. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game and does not try to forecast it to a T. That'd be a foolish and impossible goal, and as I'm always saying, please understand good and bad variance will occur. So while the long-run profitability has been proven, winning every single day is just an impossible reality for any gambler. We're going to use some different prop tools and some different mechanisms to make these picks. One of the ways we're going to do that here is with Thrive Fantasy, who's an official partner of Picks with the Professor. You can pick an entire lineup of players and enter in a contest, or you can simply pick between 2 and 5 props that you like, and you win if they all win. New users that use the promo code SIDES, S-I-D-E-S, or use the sign-up link in the show description will receive a 100% first deposit match up to $250. So sign up today and take advantage of some free money to play with. Also, new users have the opportunity to select Clayton Kershaw over half a strikeout tonight. So that's obviously probably going to hit. So if you aren't already signed up, today's a great day to join Thrive Fantasy and take advantage of what should be a sure winner for your first pick. I think tomorrow is Yu Darvish over half a strikeout. So they do these promos for first-time users. So if you aren't with Thrive yet, you should be doing that if you like the daily fantasy, if you like the player prop type stuff. We're also going to be researching using Outlier.bet, another official partner of Picks with the Professor. Outlier integrates seamlessly with your favorite domestic sports books, allowing you to shop for the best prices while also seeing the latest trends and analyzing all relevant data. You can sign up today at Outlier.bet/professor for a 7-day free trial to check them out. They've got full game, player prop, all sorts of info. And I'm going to share my screen and kind of show you some of the goodies and how I came to determine these picks that I like the most here for Tuesday's games. And so without any further ado, we will get right to it here. First pick is George Kirby over 5.5 strikeouts. Right now, the current price on that's minus 104. This would also be one of the 3. If I was on Thrive here today, picking a 3 player parlay, this would be one of the 3 I would pick here, trying to get a little bit of a fun payout here on your Tuesday night. This is Outlier.bet right here, and it's got just so much good information where you can sort through and search for players. It's a little overwhelming at first. It takes you a few minutes to figure out what you're looking at because you got so many good pieces of information here. So I'm going to kind of try to zoom in and just show you the things that I was looking at here with George Kirby. First off, you can kind of see here, they're pulling all sorts of alternate lines from all sorts of different places. Here, I know a lot of people like to play around with some of these. I just kind of like to go with the main one here, and that's 5.5 strikeouts here. And I'm going to be going over 5.5 at minus 104. Why is that? Well, if you look at the 2023 numbers, he's only hit this 46% of the time, but the first 4 starts, he kind of started off the season slow. And this is something that I had mentioned on the main show talking about picks whenever Kirby was pitching, was that he was a little bit of a disappointment to start off, but he's really been rolling as of late. You can see as of late all the times that he's gone over that 5.5 number. And something I'm always talking about here is when you're looking at player props, the strikeout props and the outs props are going to be so highly correlated. And Kirby is a great example of that. When you scroll down here, we've got supporting stats, and you can see of recent, the 2 outings that he did not get to 6 strikeouts right here, 526 versus Pittsburgh. He didn't make it out of the 5th inning. He did not get there against the Padres, did not make it out of the 4th inning. So you can see what we're talking about here. If he has a decent number of decent length here on this start, the only one, and this isn't even recent, this is May 5th, where he went 7 innings and didn't get there, 2 strikeouts against the A's. That's not even that. I mean, that was a long time ago, right? Going back to the start of May. But since then, you could see he's been pitching deeper for the most part, getting those strikeouts. And one of the other things that I like to look at here is I want to use the tools here that are provided at Outlier and also combine that with my own tools, my own modeling. I like the Mariners in this. I talked about it on show. I like the under. And when you think about liking a team and the under, that's going to correlate to the pitcher's probably going to be have some value as well. And I think there's some value here in this George Kirby market where they're going over on outs, over on strikeouts. I'm choosing the strikeouts here because we can play it on Thrive, and you can get it at a lot of your major sports books. The issue here is going to be, of course, if he can go deep. I think that he can. This Yankees offense is not that good without Aaron Judge. We've been talking a lot about that. You know that. And that's going to make this, not as difficult of a lineup for him to get through. He should get into the 7th inning based off of just looking at what he's been doing for the most part this year. Once he kind of got out of that little funk at the start of the season, should get 6 or 7 innings. That should correlate with a bunch of strikeouts. I like this George Kirby over 5.5 Ks. I'm also on Marcus Stroman over 4.5 strikeouts. About even money on this one. It's plus 102 as you can see here on screen. When I made the banner here, it was plus 101. So basically even money on this one. And Stroman's a guy I've been talking a lot about, has been really good all season. Been a guy that's been very profitable for bettors to back, whether it's in the prop market or backing the Cubs or taking their unders. As you heard on show yesterday, I'm on the under on this game already. So another interesting pick. Now that under's dropped to 8, the odds aren't quite as good as what we got yesterday. If you haven't already gotten invested in this game, looking at Stroman's prop market would be a good way to get involved. You can see for 2023, he's hit this number 73% of the time. Little funk here right in the middle of the season where he didn't do that. One of those, of course, was an outing where he didn't make it out of the 3rd inning, where he really struggled there against the Twins. But for the most part, he's been very consistent. I mean, look at this, 6 innings just about across the board. 2 really good starts here where he went deeper. And interesting enough, one of those, of course, he didn't have many strikeouts. The other one he did, but that's pretty much an anomaly. Otherwise, he's been pretty consistently getting 5 or 6 Ks in about 6 innings. And the number's 4.5. That's what we need, 5 or 6 Ks. He's been pretty consistent. I like Marcus Stroman here, whether you're going outs or strikeouts. Again, they're so highly correlated. It's really going to be hard to say you like one but not the other. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the same. And one of the interesting features that I like here on Outlier is they identify what they consider are some plus expected value picks. Everything that I'm giving you, I deem to be plus expected value pick, whether it's partially by my own knowledge and expertise. I watch a ton of baseball, partially coming from the model that I've built as well. And we're always looking to make these plus expected value plays. When you get into the player prop market, it's a lot harder to determine what's plus expected value. So I'm not going to try to say that their formula here is infallible. It's just another great piece of information that they're telling you to take a look here. And when you sort by players, you can see they have a little icon there for everything they deem to be plus expected value. All those you should be tapping into, looking into, checking out. They think that this Marcus Stroman prop is a good one as well. And because they think it's plus expected value, they've added a little box here to tell you that they think it's got a 3.6% expected value, and that if you're using the Kelly criterion to put about 3.5% of your bankroll on this prop. So they've kind of done some of that work for you. They didn't like the George Kirby one quite as much as I did, so you didn't see that box when I was on that screen. They don't think it's a positive expected value play. But again, part of where I'm coming up with my picks and why you're coming here for me is I'm not just going to parrot what a website says. I'm going to use my own model, my own data as well. And given how strong of a play we liked on the Mariners and the under, that I think is what crosses that George Kirby prop into plus expected value territory. This one, I already like the under. They like this as well. And so it's kind of one of those, can we get a couple different sources and find some things that kind of concur, kind of align? And that's, again, another good play here, I think, is this over 4.5 on Stroman strikeouts. Another one that you could play on Thrive. This would be the second of my three-player prop there on the daily fantasy, if that's something that you are interested in. And you can see on the side here, we've got some interesting little insights. Stroman's exceeded 4.5 strikeouts in 4 straight games. Of course, you could see that right here. They just kind of summarize some interesting information here. Sometimes this information, sometimes there's not a lot of good trends, not a lot of interesting things to think about. And so sometimes the information over here isn't as worthwhile. Sometimes you can see it right here. You just got a lot of different things. And so it's just great to check it out and kind of see. You can discard it. Like I'm always saying, you take what you like and leave the rest, right? I see something like this, the overs hit in 3 of the 4 games. I'm like, that didn't really mean anything to me, but I see something like this. I'm like, okay, let's dive deeper. And that's when I went to this plot. Again, you can sort here by, last 5, last 10, last 20. I'm not looking at this last 5 really at often. I just don't think it's a big enough sample size to mean much. But when you start talking about last 20 and or just the full season, now you're talking about some pieces of data that might actually be relevant. So there's just so much information you can kind of look at. You may want to look at this last 5 on those one-off cases where you think a pitcher's made a change, added the pitch, taken away a pitch, changes delivery, come off the IL, something like that might be helpful. But so much of the time, I'm just going to look at what's happened to the last 20 or the full season. You can see a lot of green there for Marcus Stroman, indicating we really think that 5 strikeouts or more is a strong play. I'll take an under here with Clayton Kershaw, under 6.5 strikeouts. Kershaw, of course, in an interesting game against the Angels, in that I took the Angels on Monday late afternoon, at about plus 135, I believe. And then by the time Tuesday morning got here, that number had shifted completely. A ton of money coming in on the Angels, thinking like I did that was a really good price on the Angels, of course, relatively close to a coin toss of a game here. And so now there's really no value, in my opinion, fading the Dodgers. This Dodgers team seems a bit broken. I've been talking about that a lot on the Discord chat. They just, even in that series against the White Sox, they won a couple of those games, but I think in 3 games, they only scored runs in like 5 innings or something, and they don't look right. But here's the thing, is that the price, while it was there Monday to fade the Dodgers, I think is completely gone now. And now I'm not looking to back the Angels at, 30 cents less than what we were able to back them on here about 24 hours ago. And so another way to play this would be this Kershaw under strikeouts. Why are the Dodgers going to struggle? Partially, I think it's offensively. I think Detmers is a little bit undervalued. And partially Kershaw, I don't think he's going to be quite as good as he's looked this season. He's been so good. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is a great illustration of a concept that we're always talking about, that if you only look at this season's data when making predictions, you're going to have a higher error rate than if you use this season plus historical data, plus last season, plus the season before, et cetera, where it's relevant. And obviously, you don't use what happened 6 years ago as heavy as you do this year, right? You use it a whole lot less, but you have that data and you use it, and it aggregates, especially in a guy like Kershaw. And you can see it, I think, right here on screen. He's gone over 6.5 in 57% of the starts. He's only gone under in 43%, as you can see here on screen. But when you go back to 2022, which again is very relevant data, you see a whole lot more times where he's gone under. And I think this is an interesting situation here. Notice at the start of the season, he started out really strong, getting a bunch of strikeouts here. Red, because in this case, if we're going under, a bunch of strikeouts would be bad. A bunch of strikeouts. And as the season kind of went on, got into the hotter months, it's not that he never did it. It's just that he got a lot more lower numbers here after such a strong start. And you notice kind of the same thing happening here, and the scaling's a little bit off, but you'll notice here, 6 of his first 10 starts, he got to that number, but now 3 of his last 5, he hasn't. And so I'm wondering if we're going to see the same thing, where that data from last year that said that Kershaw, again, good, maybe not great, is relevant here. This Angels lineup is really good, much better than it was last year. So I'm really hesitant to use any sort of, head-to-head data. But if you were to go back, of course, the last 2 years, he hasn't reached this number against an Angels offense before, and I think they're better now. It's only a sample size of 2, so I'm not really putting much stock into that. But I just think it's worth pointing out that Kershaw is having such a great year, but I don't think he's going to be able to keep this up all season. So I'm kind of looking to find ways to fade him in this Dodgers team right now. And I think this is a great one to do it. Like you said, when you look at last year, started off strong, kind of, fewer innings as time went on here for the most part. A lot of 5s and 6s here, whereas you're getting more 7s up here in the first half of the season. Wonder if we're going to have the same thing here, if he's going to be more of an under, out, and strikeout pitcher going forward. So I'm on the under 6.5 here at minus 101. And then that would be the third pick of my Thrive 3 for one that's not on Thrive, but I think it's just a great pick that I want to talk about here. Shohei Otani over 0.5 bases. So similar story here, same game against Kershaw. This is another one that Outlier deems to be a plus expected value play. They think this one's a little bit stronger than the Stroman one, a 4% expected value. So they're telling you put almost 8% of your bankroll, on this over. It is pretty juiced heavily at minus 190, but all he has to do is get on, whether it's a walk or a hit, doesn't really matter. And there's a couple things I want to talk about this. First off, last 10 games, Otani's been on fire, hitting the ball really well, seeing the ball really well. Last 20, really well as well. He's hit this 74% of the time this season. If I don't think Otani's been quite as good as a pitcher this year, but he's really stepped it up as a hitter and become a better hitter this year. You can see that here on the side here, we have Otani's 2023 stats, that OPS, which again, OPS is probably your best basic statistic to use. That's not quite as good as some of the, weighted on base average and things like that. But your basic stats that you can calculate, on the back of a napkin, OPS is a really good one. And 1,000 OPS is insanely good. He's been fantastic. I probably don't need to tell you about that. But here's the thing, even against left-handed pitching, Otani, while his OPS drops, it's still 900. A 900 OPS versus lefty is really good. So I'm not really that concerned about the fact that it's a lefty here. I think Otani's got to just seam the ball really well, has a great chance to get on base. I love this pick here. Outlier loves this pick here. Again, it's a little bit juice heavy, but Otani's going to have a great chance even against Kershaw because of how well he's hitting everybody. And it's somewhat correlated to if Kershaw isn't going as deep, which I think he's going to have a hard time doing against this really good Angels lineup. He's going to have even more at-bats against this Dodgers bullpen, which is really shaky. So even if Otani doesn't get it done against the lefty and Kershaw, he's going to have an opportunity to get done against the bullpen. Every team in baseball is trying to throw their lefties against Otani, and it's not really working that well. So it's not like the Dodgers are going to be able to magically figure out a bunch of great lefties. The only lefty that I can really think of off the top of my head they have is Victor Gonzalez. Not bad, but they're not going to be able to throw the left-handed version Nolan Ryan out there and really shut down Otani. Nobody's been able to shut down Otani lately. I don't think tonight's any different. I think he can get on base. A pick that's not on Thrive, but one that I think is worth making. And what I think is really cool here about Outlier here is you can just click this add to my picks right here. It's going to show up on the screen here. It's going to say, here we go, Shohei Otani over. You've got which books it's got. It's -210 in DraftKings, -198 in Caesars, -190 in BetMGM. There's that plus expected value right there. And when you click that one here for MGM, it takes you right to MGM's website. So it'll take you right there. You can place that bet and go ahead and get on that plus expected value play. And that's all I've got for you here. Thanks for watching this episode of Player Props with the Professor. We'll be back shortly for the baseball picks on Wednesday. But until I see you again, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.